Just recording.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
You click on the pictures, picture bring up. Not there, no. There we go. We found you.
Yeah.
Well, technology.
Solve the most difficult
Make sure you respect the
subject.
Buddha.
Yeah.
You don't love this.
So, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Again, we'll start with a short breathing, mindful breathing exercise before we generate good intentions for being here. Make yourself comfortable. And just try to relax. And observe the breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to generate motivation by thinking the purpose of my life is to be able to help to free all sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering. And to be able to help them to achieve true inner peace, the ultimate happiness. And to be able to help them in that way, I myself need to achieve my highest potential, the fully awakened state. And in order to achieve that fully awakened state, I must engage in the Bodhisattva's path practices. Especially by cultivating bodhicitta mind, wisdom, relaxing emptiness. And to be able to actualize those spiritual realizations, I must contemplate, meditate, practice, correlate continuously. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk, the teachings. And trying to apply as much as possible in our everyday life on those teachings. Okay, so would you do the praise?
Do the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer. And flow destroyer. The completely perfected, fully awakened being. Perfect in knowledge and in good conduct. Siddhartha, knower of the world. Supreme God and human beings to be attained. Teacher of gods and human beings. To you, the completely and fully awakened one. The endowed, transcendent destroyer. The glorious conqueror. The subduer from the Shaka clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go to refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer. The one gone beyond, the foe destroyer. The completely perfected, fully awakened being. Perfect in knowledge and in good conduct. To God, the knower of the world. Supreme guide of human needs to be tamed. Teacher of gods and human beings. To you, the completely and fully awakened one. The endowed, transcendent destroyer. The glorious conqueror. The subduer of the Shaka clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go to refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer. The one gone beyond, the foe destroyer. The completely perfected, fully awakened being. Perfect in knowledge and in good conduct. Siddhartha, the knower of the world. Supreme guide of human beings to be tamed. Teacher of gods and human beings. To you, the completely and fully awakened one. The endowed, transcendent destroyer. The glorious conqueror. The subduer of the Shaka clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go to refuge. Short mandala offering, once in English. This ground, anointed with perfumes, strewn with flowers, adorned with fountain, onto its the sun. And I imagine this is a good field offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure linen. Refuge in Bodhicitta. We'll do it once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Samye Shodan Sogi Shodam La Sanchu Bargu Dami Yapsuchi Nage Shunyan Kepe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Drupa Shoro Samye Chodan Sogi Shodam La Sanchu Bargu Dami Yapsuchi Nage Shunyan Kepe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Drupa Shoro 那这个原年说年到等这放的些，反正春年就是我他们在那操操。So we have been going through the Seedling Sutra, and we were in the section, in terms of page number 3, and where second paragraph, where why is it all dependent on license?
So that was so again, before that, Sutra, it explained about how all phenomena, in emptiness or on ultimate level, there's no coming, going, there's no arising, decaying. Even though in emptiness, on ultimate level, there's no, but on relative level, on conventional level, there's coming, going, there is arising or productions of the things due to cause and conditions, and then the things decaying due to the cause and conditions. There's that on relative level that is not contradictory to the worldly functioning of that. So there is that, even though there is that, just like such as the reflection of the moon in a still lake and so forth, or dreaming, illusion and so forth. But there is no self and other phenomena. The way some of the school of thoughts, early school of thoughts, as they believe, and so in refuting some of those, misperceptions, so then it is presented, from mainly four kind of five, where how everything's, to refute some of the early schools where they says, things do not always exist in cause and conditions. Thinking happens, and some of the example I think I might have given before, they use the sharpness of the throne, or the roundness of the piece, or the colorful of the peacocks. They said these are the way things are. It doesn't depend on cause and conditions. There are some school of thought that. So again, such school of thoughts are refuted by Buddha, saying they do have cause and conditions. It's round because there's cause and condition. Not only the piece itself has cause and condition, but the cause and condition why is round. Not only the throne has the cause and condition, but also there's a cause and condition why it's sharp. There's a cause and condition why it's sharp. And same with the colors of the peacocks, feathers, beautiful. Not only the peacock has cause and condition, which they also will accept, but those different colors, beautiful, bright colors, that it also have particular cause and conditions. So in order to refute such concept, so then here Buddha explained how all these conducive conditions, all condition phenomena are depending on cause and conditions. And then some, they says, even though they depend on cause and conditions, but then they talk about depending on one single cause. And that has also been refuted by Buddha. not only they depend on cause, but it depends on multiple cause and conditions, multiple cause and conditions. And as we go through, there will be some example given how one single cause cannot produce, a result. There is a multiple cause and condition coming together to produce certain results. So that is also, also some, okay, yeah. And then, presenting that there is no truly or inherently existing self and phenomena. Again, there are many school of thoughts who says how things exist inherently or truly. And that's not only the non-Buddhist, even some Buddhist school of thoughts also have that belief, the Vaibhasika Sotandrika school of thoughts. So again, that is also refuted by presenting how they are selfless, how everything's empty of self, the persons and all phenomena, the empty of self. And then how also is presented how everything is not only it depends on cause, but it depends on similar cause. A permanent cause cannot produce impermanent result. The cause and condition have to be together, similar. Because again, there are some other school of thoughts, who believe there are certain entity such as different name, whatever you give it, God, Shiva, Brahman, whatever, who are permanent, but who is the cause for this world and the being in here. They created the world and they created the being in this world. So the Brahma or Ishwara, different Shiva, whoever created that, they believe is the cause of this world, cause of the being in this world. The cause is the permanent and the world is impermanent. The being in this impermanent. And so again, that's refuted. The cause and condition has this cause and condition and the result has to be similar. A permanent cannot produce an impermanent, or impermanent cannot produce a permanent result. And so there is that. Not only that, even impermanent, not all impermanent cause and condition can produce any kind of impermanent result. Just it has to be similar. The cause and condition has to have the potential to produce specific particular impermanent result. And so again, presenting that. And then so that is where it comes mainly there. So why is called dependent arising? And it's called dependent arising, all these condition phenomena, impermanent phenomena, functional phenomena. It is called dependent arising because it's causal and conditional. Because they are dependent on cause and conditions. It's called dependent arising because all these impermanent objects or conditioned objects, functional objects, they are dependent on cause and conditions because they are causal and conditional. Not non-causal and non-conditional, they are not without cause, they are not without conditions, They are not without condition, not without cause, but they have cause and condition. They depend on cause and conditions. They come into existence or they arise by dependent cause condition, therefore is dependent arisings. In these connections, the Bhagavan concisely taught the characteristic of dependent arising as a follow. So Buddha gave more details on that. And that result comes from its own specific conditions. Every result, those condition, phenomena or objects, impermanent function, they all come from their own very specific conditions. That shows that it has to have very specific conditions and cause. Not every cause and condition can produce any kind of result. The cause and condition has to be specific, which are certain from potentials that produce specific result. And we gave example before, let's say chili seed is a cause. Okay, and then the water and others, the earth, fertilizers, they are the conditions. But they cannot produce any kind of result. That chili seed and those conditions cannot produce an apple tree and apple fruit. Specific cause and condition produce specific result. So the result will be specific, that will be chili, not apple, orange, peach. In the same ways, that's how you look from cause in terms of producing result, and in terms of result, the peach is comes through by depending on specific cause and conditions. Peach seed, not from chili seed. The chili seed doesn't have the potential to produce peach. It has to have that. So that is where result come from their own specific conditions. And also here you say condition, meaning many conditions. Not one, but multiple conditions. Whether the Tathagatas appear or not, this true nature of thing will remain. So this true nature of all these condition phenomena, by depending on certain specific cause and condition, certain result is produced. Okay, that is the true nature of those condition phenomena. Okay, are we clear? That is how they are. So that doesn't change whether the Tathagata Buddha appear in the world or not. It doesn't depend on that. It's not that when Tathagata appears, such nature, then all these condition phenomena depend on cause and conditions, and that nature change when Tathagata doesn't appear, or it change when Tathagata appears. It's not. Whether the Buddhas appear or not, whether Tathagata appear or not, but the true nature of those that is the true nature of those things, will remain same. It will not change. So what Tathagata does is Tathagata have us to be more aware of that. That's what he does. We're not aware of that, and Tathagata appear and point out, showing the path. or showing that the true nature of those things, what are the true nature of those phenomena. He show us, he point us, so we become more aware of that. But the nature of true nature of those things always remain, regardless of Tathagata appearing or not appearing. The difference is when Tathagata appear, then Tathagata point out the nature of that to sentient beings who are not aware of that and being ignorant about that. He point out, he shows, and to be aware of that. That's, so that the dependent arisings, how all conditioned phenomena arise by depending on specific cause and conditions, that is the true nature. That's the true nature of those phenomena, those objects. That's the true nature. Constancy of Dharma. There was slight different slightly different explanation by Nagarjuna and Kamalashila. In the Nagarjuna, the constancy of Dharma means that true nature of dependent arisings, or they do not get wasted. Things that are dependent on cause and conditions, they do not get wasted. It always remain consistent, If you create the cause and conditions, then if there's no obstacles, then result will happen. Are we clear? If the cause and conditions have come together, and if there are more obstacles, then the result will manifest, will arise. It's not like cause and conditions have created and then there's no more happening of that result. It doesn't happen like that, unless there's some obstacles for it to manifest and to it to arise. Otherwise, when the cause and condition come together, then it will give rise to the result. So that is Nagarjuna's. Yeah, in Kamalashila, he explained it is a true nature and the constancy of Dharma, they kind of mean similar. And he mentioned if you want to understand the true nature of those phenomena, then one will be able to remain in this true nature of the emptiness. And so that is concession Dharma. The immutability of the Dharma. And here it is explained, it is unchanging. the nature is unchanging. The nature of dependent arisings, that any result is always dependent on cause and condition, that's unchanging. And here, especially, what does immutability means in English? The word unchanging, yeah. So it is similar to previous, that every conditions, objects, phenomena depend on very specific similar cause and conditions. That doesn't change. That is how things are. Not only it depends on cause and condition, but it depends on very specific cause and conditions. So dependent arisings are like that. Dependent arising are not only depend on cause and condition, but they depend on very specific cause and condition, and that never change. It's not like sometimes it depends on specific cause and condition, and other time it doesn't depend on specific cause and conditions. It's not like that. Do you get it? It's not like that. Sometimes there is peace from the chili seed, and sometimes there is no peace from the chili, changing. Sometimes the chili seed can produce peach, but sometimes it cannot. It produce the chili. So it could. There's not such change. Thus, it always is depend on very specific cause and conditions. Always. All the condition phenomena always depend on very specific cause and condition. That doesn't change. So that is the immutability of the Dharma. Consistent with dependent arisings. So consistent dependent arisings is, it always depends on cause and conditions. Always depend on cause and condition. Anything that is dependent arisings, dependent arising condition phenomena, they're always consistent with the depending on cause and conditions. Again, it is not like always. It's not like sometimes it depends on cause and condition, and that sometimes it doesn't depend on cause and condition. Inconsistent. It's not like that. It's consistent, because all these condition phenomena, impermanent phenomena, functional phenomena, all of them are always, all the time depend on cause and conditions. Consistent. It's not that they depend on cause and sometimes, and that they do not depend on cause and conditions. That So in that case, there's no random. From Buddhist point of view, there's no randoms, where things can happen without any reasons, cause and conditions. Consistent is that, consistent always. There is always cause and conditions. There's always that. Suchness. And suchness is here, Mama Shila says, these dependent arisings is the cause to understand suchness or emptiness. And it is dependent arising is the known as the king of reasoning or logics to understand emptiness. Everything's empty because it's dependent arisings. Everything's empty of inherent existence because it's dependent arisings. So understanding dependent arising give rise to understanding of suchness or emptiness. Unmistaken suchness, and it is unmistaken because it's the true nature of all these phenomena. The true nature of such all phenomena is that they are empty of inherent existence and they are dependent arising. Okay? That nature is unmistaken because that is how things exist. All phenomena are empty of inherent existence. They all are dependent arising. And that truth, that suchness is unmistaken because that's the way things are. That's how things exist. Unchanging suchness. In Tibetan, it is the word it is used is like, not straight. What you call winding, kind of like not straight wanting. And, so here unchanging, straight it change, so what it means is that such dependent arising is like, it's not like winding straight, it applies to all condition phenomena. If it's like winding, then it's not straight to it doesn't apply to everyone, everything's, but it means it applies to all condition phenomena, all impermanent phenomena, all functional phenomena. They all are dependent arisings. And therefore, it's unchanging suchness in such that it doesn't apply to some and doesn't apply to another one. Do you get it? If the law apply to some and doesn't apply to some, then it's like changing. The law changes according to who you are. If you are powerful, then it doesn't apply. If you are not powerful, then it applies. So that is changing. The law changes depending on who you are, how much power you have, and all this. But unchanging it applies for everyone. Regardless of what your status are, the law is law. It applies to everyone. Just like supposedly when you are supposed to be no one's above law, meaning that it applies to everyone. So similar, that this law of cause and effect apply to all these condition phenomena, unchanging in that way. By the way, isn't there saying? I don't know if they're saying, but I've heard and all this, those who make laws, they don't have to follow. Those who make the law, they don't have to follow the law. Those who teach, they don't have to practice. Those who make the law, they don't have to keep the law. They made it for others, not for themselves. And those who teach, they teach others to practice, and they don't have to practice. So it's anyway. So that is what here unchanging suchness means in this through this nature of dependent arisings apply to all. It's not like it applies some and doesn't apply. Actuality. What is the Tibetan word? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Tibetan is the yang taba. Yang taba means as it is, as it is. So here is actualities. So, but here that means, it has a valid cognizers. It is unmistaken, There is a valid cognizer that arises as it is. It's not like the valid cognizer perceives something else and the way thing exists something else. But the way there's valid cognizer perceive the way things are as it is. So actuality. Truth, is the truth because it's true to the Arya beings. The Arya beings who see the formable truth directly, who see the emptiness directly. That's how things are, and to them it's truth. For us, it might seem like false, because we have ignorance. We think things in him, but that's truth, because the Arya beings and the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, see all these phenomena as empty of infinite existence, dependent arises. That's the truth. And unmistaken, because it's unmistaken because there is wisdom or exalted wisdom that relies this dependent arisings as it is. Unyielding, that's unyielding. And unmistaken because it's not mistaken, stimulated earliest. So that is, here that is what dependent arisings, giving little. Moreover, dependent arising emerges from two principles. The dependent arisings emerge from the two principles. What are the two principles? From what two principles? From causal relation and conditional relations. So when we talk about, here is one clarity where Buddha distinguished two things, cause and conditions. In relation to the dependent arising, he distinguished two things, two principles. He doesn't talk about one principle, he talks about two principles, cause and conditions. Causal condition and conditional, causal relationship and conditional relationship. Furthermore, it should be seen as twofold, outer and inner. Outer dependent arising and inner dependent arisings. Okay? So all dependent arising has two principles, which means they are depending on two principles or two things. Everything come into existence, all condition phenomena come into existence by depending on two cause and condition, those two principles. And within those dependent arisings, then there is external dependent arising and internal dependent arisings. Outer and inner means that external or outer dependent arisings in inner, internal or inner dependent arisings. The external dependent arisings, they need to apply to the, all external objects. The internal dependent arise, then it is to do with the beings' experiences, sentient beings' experiences. Internal here means sentient beings and their experiences. The external or outer is objects which are not the sentient beings, and the experience of sentient beings, So now we go more details. What is the causal relation So first then is talking about the external or outer dependent arisings. So in relation to that, then what is the causal relationship and what is the conditional relationship? So it's talking about that because each of them has two principles. Okay. What is the causal relation in outer dependent arising? It is as follows. So from a seed comes a sprout. The seed is the cause of the sprout. Okay. From the sprout, a leaf. The sprout becomes cause of the leaf. And the leaf arises by depending on the sprout. From the leaf, a stem. The leaf is the cause of the stem, and the stem is the result of the leaf. From a stem, pedicel. What is the pedicel?
Pistil is the center of the flower.
Yeah.
A pistil is the center of a flower.
Okay,
It's, yeah.
okay. Like when you see like yellow something
Yeah,
Yeah.
inside.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pistil.
From a stem, a pedicels. So stem become the cause, and the pedicel become the result. From a pedicel, a pistil. Pistil. What is the pistil? Hmm?
It's the male, isn't it the male, internal part?
Yeah,
of
if
the
you look inside a
flower?
flower, like a tulip, okay? There's something coming out from the tulip in the center. It's organic and it's long and, you know, I don't know what else to describe it.
Okay. And then from pistil, a flower. The pistil is the cause of the flower, and the flower is the result of the pistil. And from the flowers comes a fruit. The flowers is the cause of the fruit, fruit the result of the flowers. So that is how each cause give rise to the next result. You know, and it's the seed become cause of the sprout, sprouts the result of the cause. At the same time, sprout become cause of the leaf, leaf become, so it acts as both cause, result and cause. Result of something, previous seed, and it become cause of something that follows. You know. If there is no seed, the sprout cannot arise. You know, if there is no seed, if there is no cause, the seed, then there is no sprout. The relation between the cause and the result. If there is no cause, there is no the result. So that is the causal relationship. You know, without the seed, there is no sprout. Without the sprout, there is no leaf. Without the leaf, there is no stem. Without the stem, there is no pistil. Without the pistil, then there is no pistil. Without the pistil, there is no flower. Without the flower, there's no fruit. Flower cannot arise from until finally, without the flower, the fruit cannot arise. On the other hand, if there is seed and the conditions are there, the sprout will form. You know, and if there is the sprout and then conditions are there, then there will be leaf, and so on, until finally there is flower, and then the fruit will form, and the fruit will grow. You know. So that is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. And that's the law of dependent arisings. That is the law of cause and effect, law of dependent arising. That is the true nature of those conditioned phenomena. In that process, the seed does not think I form sprout. The seed doesn't think I'm going to produce sprout. Doesn't have that thought. Doesn't think that way. Nor does the sprout think I'm being formed by the seed. I have been produced by the seed. There's no thought involved, but when the cause and condition come together, the result is formed. That is what is. So I think it's refuting, some of the school of thought where they say everything is created by the thoughts of the creator God, whether it's Shiva, Ishvara, Brahma, whatever different name you give. First, there is a thought that I want to create this world, and then the world is created. Then I want to create the being in this world. Then the beings are created. There is that many school of thoughts who believe everything is created that follow the thought of the creator wanted to create something. Do you get it? So I think this is to refute that idea. These cause and conditions, they come into existence when the cause and condition come together. You don't need to have that thought to forming it, and a mind to go before that. Basically, when the cause and condition come together, it will produce the result, whether there's the thought or not. It doesn't follow the thought; it follows the cause and condition, basically. In other words, another way of putting, the flower doesn't arise because I have a thought wanting the flower to arise or to form flowers. Because I thought I want a flower in my garden. The flower doesn't arise. On other hand, even I don't have any thought the flower to arise. When the flower seed is there, whether you plant it, whether the bird dropped the seed, whether the wind brought the seed, and then condition started to rain, and all other conditions come together, then the flower will arise. Flower will grow. So here is talking about creating the cause and conditions. When you have the right cause condition together, the result is produced. When the cause and condition are not together, even if you have the thought of producing something, it cannot come into a fruition in the result. So, I think that is another very important factors, I think, that we can also apply in our practice. Sometimes I and in relation to sometimes I think, whether you have better high rebirth, for those who believe in better high rebirth or not, it doesn't depend on whether you believe or not believe. That is the thought. It depends on whether you have created the right cause and condition or not. You can believe future lives, but if you don't create the cause and condition to have a better rebirth, just because you believe it, you wouldn't have. On the other hand, there might be a lot of people who doesn't believe it, but if they have created a cause and condition, they will have a higher rebirth. Even they didn't believe it. Because It doesn't follow whether you believe it or not, whether you were taught or not. It follows whether you have created the right cause and condition or not. If you have created all the cause and conditions, it doesn't matter whether you believe or not believe, the result will be there. Good and bad. So it's more of creating the right cause and conditions. Likewise, flower does not think I form the fruit, I create or I produce the fruit. Nor does the fruit think I'm being formed or created by the flower. Add, so there is here the point, main point comes here. Add, if there is seed and the conditions, okay? Because even though here conditions not set, but he will come later conditions. So when there's a seed and the condition are there, then sprout will take the form. So it doesn't require, it is not needed to have a thought to form something or not to form something. It's about gathering and creating the right cause and conditions. That's what it is saying. Form and arise. And so on until finally, likewise, if there's a flower, there's all the conditions and there's no obstacles, the fruit will take form and arise. Because if the conditions are there, the flower is there, then suddenly you have bad wind, hail, or temperature drop, it froze all these flowers, then you wouldn't have fruit because due to the obstacles. The cause and condition were there to produce the fruit from those flowers. All conditions have come together, maybe next day or next week is ready for the fruit to come. Suddenly, there's storm or hail or temperature drops, and then when there's that obstacle, then it cannot produce. But otherwise, if there's no obstacles like that, and when the cause and condition have come together, then definitely the result will be produced. Thus is the causal relation in outer dependent arising to be seen. I think that is not so complicated, not so difficult to understand that, because it is something that we observe. We observe with our direct, sense consciousness of our eye sense consciousness that we see happening. We observe directly. We see those things happening. So it's not much difficult for us to understand that. Because we have kind of direct experience of those things happening, with our direct sense consciousness, such as the eye consciousness. So having explained the causal relationship, the one principle, the other principle is the conditional relationship. So in relation to the outer dependent arising phenomena. So then that comes. So how is the conditional relationship in outer dependent arising to be seen? So here, as due to the coming together of 6 elements. Of course, again here in the Sutra, it talks about 6 elements, but there can be more than 6 condition, more than 6 as well, but at least those 6 conditions, So what are those 6 conditions? And due to the coming together of which 6 elements? Which are those 6 elements? And those 6 elements are namely conditional dependent arising, is to be seen as due to coming together of element of earth, water, earth element, water element, fire elements, wind element, space element, and the time or season element. Those are the 6. So here, then it goes to each of those elements. What are the function of those? What are the function of each of those elements? The earth element function as support for the seed. So, the ground, the earth, that support the seed to take root, and then to grow, So it is the earth elements function as support. The water elements moisten the seed, So even there is the earth element to support the seed, but if there is not water element that moisture the seed, then again it cannot grow. So then you need the water element of moisturing the seed. That's why when you fly here, it looks so dry, bad, and almost when you land it, you see more green, but when you're flying it, hard to see any green. And why? Because of there's not enough moisture. That condition, the water element is missing. There's not enough moisture, the water element, even though there's earth elements to support it. The fire elements ripen the seed, the heat, the fire elements that give the heat. Otherwise, if there's no heat, then it will frozen, just like things frozen when its temperature drop because there's not enough heat. And that heat, the fire elements, functions as to ripen the seed. Again, even though there's water element, even though there is the earth element, if there's no fire element, the heat, then again, it will be frozen as mentioned before, so it cannot ripen the seed. It cannot ripen the seed. Yeah, I mean, even ordinary some of the fruits, when you put in the sun or something, it ripens, They need the heat to ripen. Whether it's on the tree itself or whether you pick up and put, it need the heat to ripen it. The wind elements open the seed. The functioning of the wind element is open the seed. If the seed is not open, again, then it cannot produce sprout and all of that, and then finally the flowers and the fruit, everything, So wind elements help to open the seeds. That's the function. The space element perform the function of not obstructing the seed. If there is no space, then it cannot. The obstruction, it cannot grow, and ripen. It needs a space to grow, and to ripen, and space from seed to sprout, and from sprout to all stems and all leaves, stems, all things, and then flowers and final fruit. Without the space, it wouldn't. So the space element perform function of not obstructing the seed from its expanding, from growing. And season transform the seed. The time season is transformed because you need the right seasons. That's why certain seed does not grow in certain seasons or certain area because it needs the right kind of time, seasonings, for that. So these are the 6 elements that functions as the conditions for the growth of external, outer external dependent arising such as plants. So again, when you look in the plant, the world of the plant, not only they are dependent on those conditions, they depend on all those conditions. So you see multiple conditions. It's not one cause, one conditions, multiple cause and conditions. And again, it is important for us to understand because first we understand in external world, then we try to understand internal world. That's how it works also the internal world. The Buddha give first example external world because it is something we all can observe and we can all understand with our direct perceptions. But internal world is not so easy to understand. You cannot see with your eyes. Eyes sense consciousness and so is. But the same nature or the truth nature of phenomena, the concept or the nature applied to inner world too. And that is helpful for us to understand when things goes wrong in our life, something bad happens. A lot of time we tend to point to one single cause and get upset and angry with that person's, or that we believe that person's is the cause for our pain, suffering, our problem. A lot of time there's multiple cause and conditions. We have to understand. Sometimes we are not aware of many other multiple cause and conditions that's involved. That person's behavior or actions or attitudes, only one condition among multiple conditions that lead to that event, that lead to that circumstances, that lead to that situations. You know, same even if you think of what's happening in this country, sometimes we think it's one person. No, there's so many other conditions that lead to what we are experiencing, all of that. The condition are there for such person to become a leader. The condition has already been gathered. If those conditions are not there, there's no way such person can become a leader. You know, but even before such the conditions, and there are so many other conditions, factors coming together. You know, and not only that, you know, to be able to take such action, that there are many conditions that support such actions, and therefore they are able to take those actions. You know, and sometimes we a lot of time we try to point just one or two conditions, and we think that is the cause of all the problem. But if you go deep, more depth, there is so many cause and conditions that lead to that circumstances, that result, that situations. Those are only one of the conditions among multiple conditions. Especially when we look from a karmic point of view, karmic conditions involved there. You know? Also maybe the conditions, you know, because of the actions of the majority of the people or the half or majority of the people of this country, the way they think, way they do things, that have led to that kind of condition to produce such result, such leader. You know? And it happens in every countries. Condition changes. And when condition changes, then it brings certain leaders that suit that kind of conditions. And then after some time, condition changes. And then those conditions are not suitable for such leaders. And these conditions suitable for different kind of leaders. So what kind of leader that we have, it depends on the condition that have, and those conditions changes. Multiple conditions. There are so many multiple conditions. And same with every our experience, It depends on, even though maybe someone might have contributed as one condition towards our situations, painful situation, obstacles, problem, challenging, difficult, whatever, then even though someone might have created condition for that, but that is only one conditions. Among multiple conditions, our karma conditions involved there. Sometimes the timing, and the conditions. Our own state of mind, our own state of mind also become a condition for that. If you have better practice, you have better state of mind, that wouldn't be an obstacle, that wouldn't be a problem. Because you are able to see things differently. With the same person behaving same way, acting the same way, but it doesn't make you painful. Because you have your mind, you have the practice or mentality to see it differently and deal it differently. So your mind, your state of mind is conditions, karma conditions, and then many other conditions. So I think it's important to really try to understand that. And then, when there's multiple conditions for that, why should I be so upset and angry with just one conditions? Why should I direct all my negative energies towards just one condition when there's multiple conditions? It's not accurate. It's not unbiased. If we're upset and angry, then we should be upset and angry with all the conditions, your own karma, your own state of mind, and many other things that is involved in that. So it's unfair to direct all our negative energy towards only one conditions when there are multiple conditions that contributed towards that kind of experience or result. So we try to take this understanding of multiple cause and conditions in when you take that external dependent arising understanding to internal dependent arising, and when you experience those different difficulties, challenges, problematics, situation, then we try to see it by understanding that by seeing there's multiple cause and condition, and not to blame and direct all the negative energy towards just one condition among multiple conditions. Okay, I'm coming. Yeah.
So, if we were, like, for example, I'm thinking about it in a country, and would everybody have to change those conditions in order for there to be a real change?
Not necessarily, Again, it depends, With this condition, some people are experiencing pain, some people are experiencing joy. So again, it's not like the whole population experience the same experiences. Of course, majority, minority, there's how much percentage is suffering so badly, how much percent is suffering suffering, but not so much. How much is experiencing joy, lot of joy. How much is experiencing little joy, how much experiencing more neutral. So again, it's not the whole population experience the same experience. So, whoever experience similar experiences is they call it karma, and then they experience similar, among that. So among them, if they can change, then it could change. It's more of changing the experience of individuals and collective. And so, yeah, I don't think, yeah, and anyway, so yeah, maybe that's all I can say. But if we are experiencing same collectively, all the population in this country experience same way, then to change, maybe as a collective, we all have to change. Maybe not necessarily. When individual karma changes, then it affects the collective karma as well. Because it's like, the engine that is run by so many different part of the, I don't know what you call, chips, circuit, whatever different things. They have hundreds and thousands of those, and they work together collectively, functioning. But when something goes wrong, it can affect others, even though it's particular that, but it is because it has a connection with the others. Even though it's individual, it's not other chips, but still there's connection, so it can affect that. When you fix that one, then it can also affect the others, because it's not isolated. Each of those chips are not isolated, they are interconnected. And same way, the sentient beings are interconnected, their karma are interconnected. There's individual and interrelated, and so when there is change, then it could affect. Just like on a small scale, we can see in the families. When there is change in karma, one of the family member, it make everyone happy. Or when bad things happen, it make everyone sad. It affect everyone's. And so by having a change in one person, that's part of the families where they have these strong connections. It affect others in good or bad, and when that changes, it affect others. So in that way also, we shouldn't feel that I cannot change by changing my karma, through our practice, and by trying to change our karma, it can also have some effect on the collective karma, because we are interconnected, interrelated that way. Yeah. Then we do the dedications.
The list. That's going up too. Oh, okay, as usual, we dedicate the merit we've created by listening to these teachings to all beings on all prayer lists everywhere. Those experiencing obstacles: Adrian, Wyatt, Lynn, Raquel, Zach, Helen, Teresa, Kate, Katie, and Mary Jo. Those suffering from illness: Jill, Will, Astrid, Jana, Gloria, Tarana, Linda, Emma, Kathy, Stella, Daniel, David, Gail, Linda L, Vera, Vita, Suzanne, Taryn A, and Rick P. And those who have died recently: Juliana Juliana Marins, Young Magpie, Sandro, the dog, Michelle Yu, Gopher, those in Gaza, Chet, Margie Woodall, those in Ukraine, the student in all the conflict zones, elm bugs, children, people in the Guadalupe River floods in Texas.
Eloise, could you add Laura?
Yes.
Could you please add Laura and Alyssa to obstacles?
Under obstacles, add who?
Laura and Alyssa.
Laura.
In Elisa.
Okay, and
Thank you.
so, absolutely. So we'll do our dedication prayers in English tonight. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Long life prayers for His Holiness, the wish granting, fulfilling jewels, so as every single benefit and happiness in this world, living comfortably kind and Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's reincarnation. Peerless teachers, simply the children of the victorious ones, Stravagless and Radiant Buddhas, victorious Losang, Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all of the objects of refuge of infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Buddhist precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discovered. Incomparable venerable Guru, Jidan Magnificus, while striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happy scourge, never mother living beings, you suddenly depart unto use. What a great loss. Nevertheless, for the undeceiving truth, flooding with the ugly and great jewels, and the great ways of bodhicitta and the children of the victorious ones. May the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortune.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
and thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.